previously. One was a horror film, one was an action horror film, The Lair and The Reckoning. And we were sitting there one day and we were like, okay, so what do we want to do next? And then we started just talking about some of like my favorite movies, and they just so happened to be gangster movies. Scarface, Goodfellas, The Departed, Layer Cake, Lock, Stock. And I was like, wouldn't it be so cool to do a gangster movie, but a gangster movie with a woman boss? Like, I've never seen that before. Like, that would be really, really, really cool. And then that's kind of how the whole idea, how Duchess was conceived. And I love it. As you said, it's definitely got a Blood Diamond vibe about it. We originally was thinking, okay, gangsters, what's it going to be? What's it going to be about? Drugs have been done so many times. So we're like, why would we do diamonds? That's different and fresh. And, you know, it's so that's kind of, it's definitely got that Blood Diamond vibe about it. And we just wanted to make a really cool British gangster movie that I don't think we've really seen in a long time.
Yeah, you mentioned layer cake there, and that's immediately when you mentioned it there, it started to spring to mind in terms of the resemblance as well with Daniel Craig and Sienna Miller. That it's
Yeah.
sort of the sort of vibe came to me as well when I saw the movie. But in terms of Duchess, in terms of, it's an intriguing sort of name because it almost feels like this entitlement, this heroiness, that this is the queen bee. It almost feels like a Cleopatra's type of a title. There's a ring to it in terms of the name, in terms of power and significance. And dare I say, did it take a while in terms of that concept when you saw the title and you saw the name Duchess in your character? Do you think, yeah, that really resonates with who this person really is?
Yeah, I mean, it's a powerful name, Duchess. But what I also like about it is when you think of Duchess, you think, oh, it's going to be like a British RP period piece. Definitely not. It's the opposite. It's almost got like a My Fair Lady vibe about it, right? So you're bringing this girl who's in her little fish tank bubble of her, small world. Then she's thrust into this epic criminal underground, another kind of world altogether. So it's kind of rags to riches in a way, and it's not what you think it's going to be. Duchess is not this, RP period drama. It's something completely different. And again, as you said, it's a very powerful name. It's on its own, just like I think every gangster boss always has some kind of nickname. And I thought better to have a Duchess as a name.
Yeah, and Charlotte, I just recently saw I interviewed a fellow cast member in terms of Jessica Alba's sort of comeback movie and how she was really thrust into the whole actions and stunt scenes and how she sort of immersed it. And I got the same vibe when I saw the trailer of Duchess in terms of yourself, in terms of being totally immersed with guns, weapons, stunt scenes. And I imagine the hours and hours of filming just to shoot the stunts, let alone the dialogue in terms of memory. Because I imagine performing the stunts was probably the harder challenge, and learning how to use all the weapons and the sort of different angle takes. I know acting is not the most easiest trait, but I imagine that was probably the easier part of the movie.
100%. The physical part was very difficult. I've done quite action heavy films before, but this I had to learn a whole new set of skills. I mean, Duchess is a boxer, so I'd never boxed before in my life, so I had to learn to be believable as a trained boxer. So spent a good couple of weeks with the stunties who were absolutely amazing. I mean, one of the toughest days on set was when my character's in the boxing ring and someone else comes to visit her and she's just saying all this chunky dialogue after dialogue and boxing at the same time. Like, so I'm thinking right hook, left hook, uppercut, and then say the dialogue. It was trying to like rub my belly and pat my head at the same time. It was very, very difficult. I'd never done that before. But it's all, a lot of stunt stuff is like learning a dance. It's all choreography. But with that one in particular, that was tough because it's saying a bunch of dialogue and remembering all these boxing moves at the same time. So that was very challenging. But we wanted her to have some kind of set of skills which plays on later on, which comes into hand later on when she's going after the bad guys.
Yeah, and you mentioned learning lines and learning information, but learning lines and learning new knowledge sometimes is a different thing in terms of memory and remembrance. And definitely about the diamond business, the amount of terms and lingo and the terms of the information that I know myself. If you ask me about diamonds, I would just say, oh, they're very nice looking. And that would be the depth of my knowledge. If a quartz and all this sort of thing, I'd be just completely sort of lost in terms of that. Was there much sort of lingo or a heavy sort of information? Because in diamond sort of business, there's all the sort of terms and tricks and abbreviations in terms of what this and that means. It's very heavy sort of orientated.
Yeah, I mean, for the research, me and Neil, we did a lot of research. We actually spoke to a few people in the business, which was absolutely mind blowing. One of the stories that we put in the film, don't quote me exactly on the numbers, but it was one professional. He picked up a diamond in this auction in London. I think he picked it up for around £500,000. This big rock. And within 24 hours, he got a call from this Russian billionaire saying, come to my yacht in Saint-Tropez, I'm going to fly you out. And he bought it for like 10 million. It was like insane. And it's just like, it's just like, we're just sitting there like, we've got to put that in the movie. Let's put that story in the movie. And it's true, like it's insane. And again, I think it was very cool to have something very different in this story. It's not drugs, it's gangsters, it's not drugs, it's not weapons, it's something a little bit more different that we haven't seen quite a lot of in a gangster movie. Diamonds.
Yeah, and you mentioned the cast in terms of that, and obviously I give a brief knowledge of the cast, the fellow cast members they're in, but the casting of Sean Pertwee, a very sort of interesting choice. I absolutely love them in Gotham, the sort of TV series myself, and he's one of those sort of actors that you could almost sort of see that the believability about him in terms of this movie. He's a trick of all trades, Sean Pertwee, for me. He's a jackal in terms of what he can do. And I looking at the trailer, I imagine he brought an awful lot to this production.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely phenomenal to work with. I worked with him before in The Reckoning, and he's kind of the antagonist in The Reckoning. And in Duchess, he's part of my crew. Everyone sees the film, goes, "Oh my God, I can tell Sean Pertwee had a great time." He's just his character is so much fun. He plays kind of this Cockney villain who's absolutely awesome. I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, he was great. And then obviously Colm Meaney, who's a legend. Working with him, absolutely incredible. We just got a phenomenal cast. Obviously Philip Winchester, Stephanie Beacham, just everyone was absolutely great.
Yeah. And in terms of the shooting of this, Charlotte, in terms of, did you shot this maybe a year ago, 2 years ago? Did you get a free run in terms of strikes and all that? Was it towards the end of it, or was there any interruptions at all?
It took a while. We wrote it in 2018 and we shot it in 2022. So it took a minute to get made. And then, yeah, I mean, I got COVID during the filming, which was tough. So did the director. We had to close down for a few days. It was a very tough shoot. But come what may, we got it in the can and it's coming out. So
yeah.
Got through it.
Yeah, so obviously when you have an idea and a concept there, and it's like 2018, and with everything going on in the world, you're sort of there has to be a sort of determination and a grit between yourself and Neil to bring it to life, to stay true to the concept and stay true to the project during those challenging times. And I suppose now you're getting the rewards with the release this Friday.
Yes, I'm so excited. And everyone's reaction so far has been very positive with the trailer, and so I'm just hoping everyone's going to enjoy the film as much as what they've seen so far in the trailer. So
and is there a sensitive side, or is there a different element or different layers to the character Scarlett Monaghan, or is what, as to say, in terms of what you see in the 10, is it when you open the can, is it very different, or is it what it says on the 10?
No, I would say this is very different. I mean, it's partly a revenge film as well, and half of the story is her falling in love. You see, this is what's so interesting about this film. A lot of action gangster films are very on the surface, superficial. This has a lot of, this is about family and betrayal and love and revenge, really. But you spend half the film with her falling in love with this guy. And it's a full journey. You kind of see a 360 emotional arc to Scarlett. You see her, kind of down in the gutter and then falling in love, and then lots of other elements to her. So and I think that yes, she is an anti-hero, but that's what makes her likable and interesting, that you're rooting for her because when the revenge does take place, it's warranted, and you really, and I'm hoping the audience is going to feel the same way, you really do care for her.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very, very interesting. And Charlotte, before we came on air, you mentioned a few other projects that might be coming our way towards the end of 2024, or maybe at the start of 2025, that we might see you on our TV screens or movies in the cinema theaters in the near future.
yes, I have 3 other films coming out. One called Compulsion, which I also co-wrote and directed with Neil Marshall. That's coming out next year. And then I just finished an action film with the great Dolph Lundgren and Michael J. White. That was a lot of fun. I felt like Duchess kind of prepared me for that. I was like, if I can do Duchess, I can play with these big action heroes, which was awesome. That's called Fight or Flight. That's coming out next year. And then I just also finished a horror film called The Possession of Gladstone Manor with the great Lynn Shay, Barbara Crampton, Jesse Metcalfe. That's coming out next year as well.
And Charlotte, we'll definitely have to see you in Ireland in the near future anyway. But Charlotte, Kirk, for the final 30 seconds, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you might enlighten all our listeners, all our viewers, and everyone who's viewing and listening in why they should go out en masse on August the 9th to see Duchess in their cinemas nearby, whether it's by plane, train, automobile, tractor, whatever mode of transport. They rock into the cinema, get the popcorn, the Maltesers, kick back the feet on the recliner seat, the curtains come down, Duchess plays, and Charlotte, Kirk, what's in store for them?
Without giving too much away, everyone that's seen Duchess so far has literally said to me, after finishing the film, it feels like they've just come out of a roller coaster. They've had all these emotions of crying because it's so emotional in some parts, laughing, absolute shock and terror. It's got every kind of emotion you want. It kind of literally takes you on this emotional roller coaster, and it's very inspiring, very empowering. I think, especially for women, that this is usually a role that a male would be cast in, you know, a gangster movie, but it's a gangster movie with a woman boss. So I think it's very empowering for a lot of women to say, wow, like, you know, I feel very empowered when I see this and I see films like this. So I think it's gonna, you know, you're gonna want to watch this because you're gonna have you're gonna literally be drawn in, hopefully entertained by this incredible chaotic journey of complete escapism of the world of Duchess Monaghan and her whole story. And it's about a woman's rise to power. It's very badass. It's really about a woman's rise to power and how she takes down all these powerful people. With all odds against her, she brings them down.
On that note, all that's left